Welcome to Negotiation with Alice, your negotiation podcast. Everything that you do where you need to get on the same page with someone else is a negotiation. So whether you have to negotiate a contract with someone, or you simply need your boss to sign off on that program that you'd like to implement, or you want to figure out how to rebalance the chore structure in your home, or talk about what vacation you want to go on. All of these things are negotiations. So in my podcast, we go over both personal and professional conversations, which all are considered negotiation, and I will give you tips on how to come out ahead. Welcome to the show. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Negotiation with Alice. Today, I have Raheel Bodla with us. He is a business coach. Raheel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Alice. It's such a great pleasure and an honor to be here with you, Alice. You're amazing in negotiation. We love learning from you and doing better in our business settings.
Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and who your clients are.
Thank you, Alice. I'm a business coach and I work with business founders, and I have a team as well that helps me to serve these business founders. Generally, we've been helping businesses in Silicon Valley and California overall, from $0 to $10 million. We help them alongside coaching, we help them in business development. And my team is in Philippines, and that's how, because the business founders are busy, my team does the implementation on behalf of the business founders. Could it be lead generation, sales, operation? These are some of the areas, and that's how we have grown the businesses.
Wonderful. Well, I would love to help your team get better at what they do. So why don't we just dive right in, Raheel?
That's awesome, Alice. My first question is regarding negotiation and relationships. Because with the word, with the connotations of the word negotiation, probably it comes while the relationships are not going very well, or they went to a level of like arbitration or litigation or lawsuit or anything. But like, my question is that how to maintain great relationships, great working relationships while negotiating and while doing the work with the business founders and the businesses that we work with. That's my first
Great question, Raheel. Thank you. So number one, you always want to make sure you are very nice and warm and friendly with your negotiation counterpart, right? You never want to bully them. You don't want to demand things from them. So you always want to couch things as, because I'm presuming these are like maybe current clients, right? And maybe
Yes.
things aren't going so well, so they're asking for things. So you want to just really reinforce how much you enjoy working with them, how much you value them as a partner, and you want to say all of those things. But you also don't want to just say, but this is what I would like. You really want to listen deeply to what it is they're asking for. You want to understand why they're asking for what they're asking for before you just counter with your own, right? You can't say, oh, well, we think this is better, and then just push it, because you want to really understand, like, what is important to them? Why is that important to them? What are the metrics that they are looking at versus the metrics that you're looking at, right? And you always want to just constantly reaffirm the positivity. You never want to get into a position where you're trying to be the bully and say, we know better than you, so we're going to implement our idea, because then that's when things go sour. But if you constantly try to stay on the same side of the bargaining table, so you want to bring them over to your side, right? The two parties on the same side of the table, and the problem is on the other side of the table. You don't want them to be opposite you. You also want to understand, what leverage do they have, right? If their leverage is, oh, we can just leave. We'll leave and we'll fire you and we'll go find someone else, or we're going to sue you, right? So you have to understand what's their leverage, because you don't want to push so hard that they decide, okay, I'm going to just use my leverage to get my way, and all of a sudden the relationship is going sideways. So it's so important to understand, what leverage do both parties have? What leverage do you have? But also, especially because they are a client,
Yes.
what leverage do they have to force what they want to have happen? And you never want to push them to a point where they decide, you know what, we're not getting our way. We're going to pull a different lever, because that's when you're going to break the relationship.
Right. That's such a great insights that you have shared, Alice. Definitely, it helps so much listening to their pain points and then understanding their why. And that's how I think our business evolved in the last 5 years. While I was doing the coaching with the business founders, they were sharing that positive feedback by saying, Raheel, coaching is very effective, but I wanted to do what you suggested, but I didn't have time, and that's where we brought in our team who can do the implementation on there. Awesome. So my second question is, Alice, in regards to based on my limited experience of last 5 years working with business founders, I found that and please, I'm looking forward to your advice here in a similar way, and that's kind of related with the past with the previous question. If we have a plan A that we have tested, and we have seen learning from best practices from other businesses, and the business founder comes up with his or her mindset of a plan B, while plan B is a different one and may not get the results based on the way Raheel has learned, and may not be the best plan. So what to do in that kind of situation and how to drive that. So your guidance would be helpful, Alice.
Great. So listening first is always key when you're doing this kind of negotiation where someone's showing up and saying, oh, well, I want this instead, right? Because if you show up and you decide, I'm not going to listen, I'm going to make all the points while that my plan A is the best, I can assure you the other side is not listening to you at all. They're merely waiting to argue for their plan B. So you really need to say, okay, great. You want plan B. Talk me through plan B. What does it look like? What are you trying to achieve? And as you're listening to those things, you can ask deeper questions. Oh, well, so if this one here, if we can create greater results on this particular thing, would that be of interest to you? And they might say, no, I'm not so concerned about that because there's this other thing here that I'm going to talk about next. Right? Or you might say, okay, well, in this plan here, we might spend more money on this one. Is that okay with you? Are you okay with having like deeper pockets to put towards this plan B? Right? So you want to ask a lot of questions as they're going along and explaining so that you have a full understanding, and they also have a full understanding based on your investigative questions, right? It shouldn't be with judgment. You shouldn't be asking it like, oh, well, your plan is terrible, and I'm asking these questions to try to prove that your plan is terrible. No, you need to really be curious, really be open, and ask questions from a place of curiosity to just say, okay, so I understand that you would like plan B. Here's where I see your strengths. Here's where I see some of the weaknesses. Would you be interested in just comparing a side-by-side comparison with plan A and plan B? Now that you've shared everything with me, I can share plan A and we can kind of together look and see which one has the most pros versus the most cons. Like, would you be interested in doing that kind of a side-by-side comparison? Now, if they say yes, now psychologically you have bought buy-in for them to, at the very least, listen to you because they said yes. When someone gives permission for you to present something, now they're ready to listen. If you show up and you just say, well, let me just explain why plan A is better than yours, and you never listen to them, they're not going to listen to you. And now you're off to the races, what you think is negotiating, but you're basically arguing your positions, and no one is listening because everyone is arguing for their point. So you really want to do step one, listen to what they're trying to tell you. Step two, ask a lot of questions so you understand deeply what's going on, including which pieces of plan B is most important to them. And then finally, you ask them for permission to present yours, not so that you can like win, but just so you can compare the two. And then finally, you have an open dialogue about which direction should we go in based on that. Now, everyone got a chance to present. Everyone got a chance to listen. Everyone got a chance to ask questions. So at this point in time, you're much better prepared as a team, collaborative team, to make the decision as to whether you're going to choose plan A or plan B, because you have given each other equal time to listen and learn.
Right. That's amazing. What we understand from your insights, asking those creative questions so that they come to self-discovery and they come to comparing the plan A with plan B rather than, oh, I have just have plan B. And since I'm the founder and it's my say, yes, you are the coach, but this is plan B. Perfect. That's great. Awesome.
Exactly. And you even want, if they do end up choosing theirs, whether because they think it's better or because they have an ego or something else, at least everyone was able to hear each other's plans
Yes.
and hear about what was strong about each one, what was weak about each one. Maybe even when you're presenting, you're saying, look, if we go with yours, we're not going to get this much result. But if you're okay with that and you're clear about that, then fine, we can move forward with your plan if that's what you choose because you're the founder. So now everyone is making decisions from a place of deeper understanding.
Yes, that's a very good point, Alice, as you mentioned. And it did happen so many different times that we did choose plan B or we went ahead with plan B. And maybe a year later, then the founder mentioned, oh, Raheel, this is what we are doing, and there is some shortcoming here. And what you were suggesting like few months earlier, then that could have been better. But we come to that self-discovery part and the strength and weaknesses part that we learned from you, Alice. That's amazing. That even in that plan B, there could be strengths and there could be weaknesses. And illustrating those with our team, that would be great.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Another question I have, Alice, is for data-driven decision making, like in terms of while we're working and deep down into the operations or the sales or the pre-sales area of the business, and presenting that data, and that helps in that preparation part. So how would you take that, the preparation for negotiation, and coming up with a process for that, or showing or presenting the data so that with the business founder and the business coach, they come and evolve and come to the right decision making.
So just because your team is data driven and they can really drill down, don't presume that all the founders can follow along on those numbers. Okay. So that's number one, because you don't want to overwhelm someone with information they cannot grasp. All right. So that's number one. So, yes, on preparing all the data. Absolutely. Yes, on being prepared to present all the data. But you also want to maybe talk to the founders before you're presenting and asking them, what would you like for us to highlight?
Hmm.
What are the things that are important to you? Do you want to see all the data? Do you want to see high level, sort of what we're aiming for? Because you want to present the kind of information that they can digest,
Yes.
right? So if I'm allergic to some kind of food, you don't want to show up and say, hey, Alice, we made all this food for you and you're allergic to it. And I'm going to be like, I can't even eat this. So it's the same thing with the data. You don't want to present so much data, they can't digest that information, right?
Right.
Because you might say to yourself, hey, we did a great presentation. We drilled down on all the data, that sort of thing. But the bottom line is, if they are not digesting all of that information, then they are not going to be able to respond to you in an appropriate way because they have been unable to digest all the data that you gave them. And you may not know this because they may not admit to you, hey, Raheel, like I didn't understand half your presentation because it was like so many numbers, right? So don't presume everyone can digest the really hardcore numbers and all the data, because not everyone is wired that way.
Yeah.
Especially founders are typically visionary people. And there will be people who can digest all the data. And there's some people who are like, I want high level. I'm a visionary. I know generally where I want to take my company. And they expect everyone else to do all the data.
Yes.
So understand your audience.
Yes.
Who are you presenting to? Are they someone who wants all these, like all the data? Or is it someone who says, hey, I want like high level idea of what's going on? Because if you make a mistake of presenting a lot of data to someone who cannot really like grasp all that information, then you're not doing anyone a good service,
Yes.
right? And then they're going to start trying to make decisions based on data that they couldn't comprehend. So
Right.
understand, do they want high level information or do they want like really granular information? Be prepared to deliver both, but understand like what it is that you want for your client. So you can highlight, here are the milestones, the KPIs for you that we're aiming for, and understand like what is it that they want for their company as well. So you can speak to that, right? Do you want to grow fast or do you want to go slow? So that's gradual. And what are these milestones and what's the timeline? So understanding really deeply what their vision is for the company will help you give the presentation so it hits exactly what they're looking for.
That's a very good point. And interesting one in terms of the personality style. So with the business founders, once we start the process, we do a personality style to understand what are the. So generally, we had been doing like a disc, whether their dominance and influence and supportiveness and conscientiousness. What do they prefer? Are they more analytical? Would they appreciate a deep dive with that data, or would it be, the high level visionary person and don't go into the details with me? That's
Exactly.
that's awesome. That's such a great insights that you're sharing, Alice. That's awesome. So for the people who are more visionary with the founders and they have a vision for the company, then it would be the how would that negotiation with relationship and in terms of the business coaching, how would you advise that to go on?
Do you, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're asking. So you're saying, okay, let's say we've got a founder. They're not
Yes.
too much into the numbers. They
Yes.
can't really focus on the nitty-gritty numbers. And so you're showing it, wanting to prove to them, hey, this is better because here's what the numbers show, but they're
Yes.
sort of like not comprehending that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you really still need to attach it to their KPIs, their vision, right? So without
Yes.
necessarily dumping all the data onto them, you want to just double check and say, okay, let me make sure I'm understanding what you would like to do. You'd like to double revenue in 6 months, or you want to triple your employee count in 12 months, right? What are those bigger milestones? And then you can sort of explain, if we go with this, this is where you're going to land, right? If you want to double revenue, but you go with your plan, you're actually only going to like move it by a third. You're not going to double it, right? Or only by 20%. So you can kind of explain where they might fall short with their high level milestones based
Right.
on the two different plans that you're sort of negotiating. And so you really, as a team, as a support team, need to understand, how fast can this boat move? If we go with plan A, how fast does it move? And what are some of the things that, I don't know, some of the disadvantages? And if we go with the founder's plan B, how fast does that boat move? It might not be a huge difference, but there's going to be trade-offs. So you need to be able to express, here's the trade-off. Are you okay with this? Because if you're okay with this trade-off, this will go better, but that will not go as well. Are you okay with this? If they're able to see everything and they say, yeah, you know what? I want to double, but if I can't double, but this other thing is better, I'm fine going with my plan B. Now we are all moving from a place of education, right? We all understand the playing field. The most important thing is everyone is looking at the same pictures,
Yes.
right? The problem is if you're looking at one picture and they're looking at another picture and you're both talking to each other, but you're looking in different directions. You want to look at the same picture. And so the same picture will have the same disadvantages and the same advantages. And then everyone can say, okay, if you're okay with these disadvantages and advantages, we're going to go with this plan. Then you will more than likely reduce any kind of friction down the road. And also, you probably want to capture in an email, hey, by the way, just recapping this conversation, this is what we agreed on and why. So that later, if they come back to you and they say, Raheel, like, why didn't you tell me this? Or why didn't you tell me that? Because sometimes people don't comprehend everything. Like, we don't catch all the information because we could be in information overload. We could be thinking about something else, or there are many things why sometimes they don't catch some information that maybe you said 3 times. And you're thinking to yourself, I told you this 3 times. Why didn't you listen to me? So you want to capture it in an email to say, I am just recounting what we discussed. You agree to do X, Y, and Z, knowing that there's some disadvantages. Here are some of the disadvantages you may face, but you agree to it because of X, Y, and Z reason. If you capture all of that, then later on, if they come back and they say, Raheel, why did you let me go with my plan B? Like I told you, I want to double my revenue and this is not making it. You can point back and say, we did have the discussion, and point back. That will prevent like this other negotiation where people are getting upset with you. And now you're again arguing. We told you 3 times. No, you didn't. I did not hear it. We'll get rid of all of that.
Yes.
But you have to record that conversation.
Great. This is so helpful. That's awesome, Alice. We will implement all these words of wisdom in the work that we are doing as business coaching with the founders. That's awesome.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Raheel. Raheel, if someone wanted to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can request a Calendly meeting with us, and that would be very easy. Go to our website, raheelbodla.com, or through LinkedIn as well. We keep getting a lot of great referrals. So a LinkedIn message to Raheel Bodla, or on our website through our Calendly. Either way would be fine.
Great. And for our listening audience, I will be posting Raheel's information in the show notes. So if you'd like to get in touch with him, you're welcome to check out the show notes. Thank you so much, Raheel, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Alice. It's such a great honor to be here with you. You're amazing.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in once again to Negotiation with Alice. And we will see you on the next episode.